So one of the most underutilized and undervalued of the big five is reviews. And I will tell you, working with hundreds of clients, there are three big things that you need to make sure you're doing with reviews so you're not missing out on becoming the most trusted voice in your space.
Welcome back to Endless Customers. I am your host, Alex Winter, and today we are joined by Allison Riggs. She's a coach and trainer here at Impact. Allison, welcome back to the show.
Hey, Alex, always a pleasure.
It's great to talk to you. It's been a minute. I'm so happy to see you. Thanks for taking the time to be on the show today.
Yeah, I'm really excited, with the Endless Customers book coming out and a lot of the new content that we've got cranking out and seeing success with clients already. I always love talking to you.
I couldn't agree more, and I hope we can just dive right in and get right into it because we have a really good topic today, obviously about endless customers, but specifically we're talking about reviews, and it's a very interesting topic because it's multifaceted. So there's a lot to cover. I think people think reviews are just like, oh, I left a review on Amazon and I'm done, and like that's not specifically what we're talking about here. It's a component of it, but we're really talking about the big five. And if you know, They ask you answer, and endless customers, you know what the big five is. But really, we want to start to talk about how underrated reviews can actually be and how important it is for companies to start taking them more seriously, especially when we talk about topics like cost and price. So can we just kind of start to dive in? Where's a good place to start for all things reviews?
Yeah, I think you said it really well, Alex, around it. A lot of time it feels like an afterthought about reviews in a lot of different ways with clients. So we talk about the big five and what type of content we should be producing from a review standpoint. But there are also so many other pieces of the review process that we need in order to really give our clients and customers exactly what they need in order to make the best buying decision for themselves. And a big piece of that is the review process, right? And even in our sales process, we forget about how well reviews can work for us and almost against us in a sense. And so there's lots of different things that I want us to dive into today when we're talking about reviews, right? So let's start off with the big one. You mentioned big five. Let's just dig in there, right? So
yeah, because I was just to interject. I feel like the big five reviews tends to be the one that ends up getting the least amount of attention historically, at least from what we've seen in the marketplace and with clients and stuff like that. Why is that? What's good there?
Yeah, it's not the flashiest of the big five, but you're totally right though. When I say that it's underrated or it's kind of passed over, it's because we haven't really put the value proposition into the type of content that we're creating around reviews. So traditionally, when we were building out the big five and we brought reviews into this process, the biggest piece is we know that one of the biggest trust builders for any type of customer or client, despite industry or geographic region, is a review or an experience from another person who has either gone through the process, your process, or gone through a similar process. That's where reviews of products, services, and even competitors comes into play. And the component that we have to keep in mind is the unbiased opinion that we need to bring in when we're creating reviews. Because that's the big reason that we trust people that write reviews, right? Is because we're believing and seeing that they're writing this review from experience and not with an intention one way or the other behind it, right?
Yeah, it keeps it real. It totally keeps it real.
Yeah, it does. And that's where, when you think about Amazon reviews, right, or really any other types of reviews, right, Yelp, Google reviews, right? We go to those places because we trust those sources. And we have to almost flip the switch a little bit in becoming our own trusted source. So when we say becoming that trusted voice in our space, it's not so that people buy products and services from us. It's that consumers truly believe that we are giving them all of the unbiased education and resources that they need to make an educated buying decision. Nobody likes FOMO. Nobody likes buyer's remorse, right? So how can we create this type of content that really digs into our expertise in when we say products and services, this can be twofold, right? It can be our products and services. Of
Mm-hmm.
course, we want to write about ourselves. We want people to know, right, exactly what it looks like to work with us and to purchase our products. But there's also the industry side of it, right? There are different types of products and services that can sit within categories that we as consumers need reviews on, right? So I think about different types of HVAC models,
Mm-hmm.
right? So we can go into brand names, we can go into different styles and types of monitors, different types of what's the word that I'm looking for here, Alex? there's just different there's the different components and categories when you're thinking about making purchases, right? So cars is a great example. You can have reviews on SUVs as a whole, right? But then you can get down into the nitty gritty of the actual models, into the manufacturers. And that's the type of content that people need in order to narrow down their searches and narrow down their different uh, things that they need to be looking for as
Yeah.
well when they're thinking about these different types of purchases.
Yeah. I do
So
that
the
all the
first
time.
piece of it, yeah,
Yeah, I
like
do that all the time.
exactly, right? So there's
You
that.
use the car example, and that's something where like there's two pieces for me. It's like there's two types of users where like for me, I know what I want. I'm usually I'm the guy that goes to the store and I know exactly what I want. I get in, I get out real quick. My wife is the opposite. So when we're talking about cars, like I know all the way down to like
Yeah.
I want it to be a V8 manual transmission, this color interior, this color, like all the little like buttons and gizmos and gadgets that you can filter. I use all those. But if you don't know, you can also start to experiment with those filters to figure out and shape what it is that you're looking for. So like it's twofold when you're using those types of filters and those reviews to help shape your opinion. And that's how you can become a thought leader, is by giving people the ability to do that. That's the key.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's a great point that you bring up, right? Is there has to be, when we're writing, whether it's products and services or even about competitors, right? Because there is a component of us being able to write unbiased content about our competitors, and we can base it off of any information that the public can easily find, right? So this is
Mm-hmm.
whether we've had experiences with, this isn't about beef that you have with different competitors, right? This isn't even about, really great relationships that you've built as well. It genuinely needs to be an unbiased opinion
Mm-hmm.
of yourself, your products, and your services. So we're tapping into that content a lot, right? Because we have to show people what a good fit and what a bad fit can be for each of these different products and services. We read reviews to help ourselves self qualify
Mm-hmm.
as well. So that's a piece of this puzzle where we not only need to know about the experience, but we want to hear from other people who have had a similar experience in helping us make that decision,
Right.
right? So
Yeah.
if we go back to the car example, right, is there's going to be folks, right, where I have 5 kids. And so I need the extra row in my SUV. Could we get away with possibly not having one totally? But I need to know the types of SUVs that help facilitate a family that has 5 kids with
Right.
lots of sports, right? The extra trunk room, right? But then there might be a model that's too big for me, right? I don't need the big giant van. I'm not there yet, right?
The Sprinter
But I
van.
need
Yeah.
to, hey, hold on now, not ready yet,
Yeah.
right? But there's these types of decisions that we have to give. I know we call it the law of coin, right?
Mm-hmm.
For the good and the bad, but there's also the good fit and the bad fit, which is why people rely on reviews so that they can put themselves in the shoes of the person that they're reading it from. And they can see, is this person similar to me? Are they having a similar experience?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, are their criteria similar to mine? And that's why we trust people who have lived this so that we can see exactly how it'll play out.
Couldn't agree more. And it comes back to the thought leadership piece when you talk about building trust, where the only way to really build trust is to not force anything. You can't tell people what they want. You can't try to one call close somebody if they don't want to be one call close. You can't force these issues. So the best way that we've seen historically to do this is to meet people where they are and give them the ability to use these self-service, these self-selection tools to make their own decisions and to feel like they're not being forced into anything. Because when you do that, then they think of you as that trusted voice. And when they do decide to buy, maybe it's not today, maybe it's a week, maybe it's a month from now, but they're going to come back to you because they trust you.
Yeah.
Not rocket
And
science.
because
Yeah.
it's not rocket science,
Yeah.
and they know that you were really honest and open about who is the right person for this. And then it's totally okay if you're not, because this goes all the way through their experience with your product and service, right? Is because if we're trying to fit everybody into the same box, they're not all going to have the same experience. So, which would you rather have? Would you rather have customers grateful that you wrote a review that helped them understand who's a good fit and who's a bad fit for your product, and they actually disqualified themselves from your sales journey? Or you have people go through that process and then they realize at the tail end that they weren't a good fit, and now you've put them in a bad spot, right? Maybe they've wasted time, money, energy, resources, all on a product that wasn't truly a right fit for them. Who are you going to trust more? The company that just puts you into the same box as everybody else, or somebody who genuinely cares about your experience and what you need to purchase or sign up for so that you can have the best experience long term, not just those short term wins.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer. No-brainer. I think everyone would agree. Everyone out there watching and listening would say the same thing. So I have a question here. This is an interesting one. Yeah. So when a supplier is involved, right? How do you recommend handling that conversation and publishing a transparent review that covers both the pros and the cons? Because I feel like everyone wants to talk about all the good stuff, and people tend to shy away from the bad stuff. The same conversation happens when we talk about cost and price. It's like, no, they need to talk to our sales team, and then we can convert them on a call. That smoke and mirror stuff, to what you just said, it doesn't work. So when we're talking about suppliers specifically, what do you recommend for them, and what do you coach them on when it comes to pros and cons and how that plays into reviews?
Yeah. Well, the biggest thing is, Alex, can your potential consumers go out onto the internet or type into ChatGPT and find out the pros and cons of any product and service, regardless of whether or not you write about it?
100%.
100%.
Yeah, let's not ostrich, we can't ostrich the situation. We can't stick our head in the sand.
We can't at all, because ultimately at the end of the day, this is information that is readily available to the public.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, the difference is when we as a vendor, right, are selling these products or promoting these products, we have to, of course, be able to say who's a good fit and who's a not fit. Mm-hmm. And we have to provide the solutions for it, right? Maybe that one product isn't right for them, but maybe there's another product within the same brand name that is similar that they can still purchase, right? So there is a way to communicate clearly, right? And to be very open and honest about products that work well and don't work well for potential members, right? Or potential buyers. And then we can lead them through to another purchasing option, right? So the biggest thing is just to keep in mind is, are they going to find out about it anyway? And if the answer is yes, then why not have a vendor who knows you and your brand well enough to be able to communicate really well about the pros and the cons? Because ultimately they're going to come back to us and they're going to continue to purchase and buy from us. And just as we're going to have bad fit clients, we're going to have great fit clients.
Right.
So as long as we have those, we're actually helping some of these brands, right? And I tell people this all the time too. It's like, if you were a vendor with a supplier and you're not communicating the feedback directly from your consumers to your suppliers, you're doing your suppliers a disservice. You are not helping them actually build better brands, build better products, build better services. At the end of the day, you're holding that tight to yourself because you don't want to upset them, versus truly helping them become better so that they can sell more, that they can have a bigger customer base in the long term.
Yeah, that's a great point. You're making me think about our OG customers, our OG clients here at Impact, our friends at Yale Appliance. And Steve Scheinkoff is a perfect example of someone who did exactly that. And at first, the manufacturers didn't really like the feedback because a lot of it wasn't positive. But how do you get better and make better products? You need to know what's wrong so you can fix the problem. You
need the firsthand experience, and you need to provide the solutions.
Yes.
Right? Like, there are times where Steve was like, hey, some of these, here are the most reliable and the most unreliable, but here's what you can do. Here are some solutions that you can put into place to make sure that you really do get the longevity out of your appliances. And this is even where tying into reviews as a whole and not just us writing content, but there is also a reason that we want to encourage all reviews from all of our clients about our products
Mhm.
and services. I worked with a client a very long time ago before my endless customers, they ask you answer days, and they would take off bad reviews from their Google My Business page.
Like they would just delete
And
them?
they would just delete them. They would
Yikes.
take them off,
Yikes.
right? Because their fear is that people would see some of the bad reviews and they wouldn't want to work with them. Well, one, Alex, we are all smart consumers, right? So is there any product or service where you haven't ever seen one bad review ever in all of the lifetime of that product or service?
I I don't think so. And if I ever did see that, I would automatically like I would have my red flag up. That's like, why is this 100%? Like something's got to be off here because nothing's ever perfect. So like that instantly
Yeah,
would put a bad taste in my mouth, or
exactly.
something would be suspect. Yeah. Yep.
As my kids would say, that's sus, right? It's there's something about it that just doesn't sit well or doesn't sit right where there's 100% perfection.
Hmm.
No product is that way. So the better route to go is to encourage all reviews, the good, the bad, and the ugly. We need to hear it. We need to see it. And we as a brand and as companies need to understand it so that we can make better products and better services at the end of the day. I encourage all of my clients to welcome any negative and bad reviews. And I like when they're public. I like when they're public because if we as a company truly do want to evolve and become the best that we can be and be the trusted voice in our space,
Hmm.
we can take those reviews, turn it around, bring it to our service delivery teams, bring it to our operations teams, and make better products and services. We can use that feedback to create better experiences for our customers and our clients. And then we turn around and that public facing negative review, we then get to go back and say, thank you, Alex. We really appreciate this feedback. Now, of course, we're sad that you didn't have the best experience with us, but here's exactly what I want to tell you that we did based on the feedback that you gave us. That's not only going to change, hopefully, your experience if you ever try us again, but hundreds of customers in the future are going to be bettered because of your feedback. And I would love for you to try our product or service again and give me the same feedback so that I can see if what we put into place actually fixed the problem that you were
Wow,
experiencing.
that's powerful. That's really powerful. In fact, for me, if I read a review like that, that would win my business immediately because I feel like in life is the same in business. It's not, you don't get judged on the things you do well. You get judged on the things that you do poorly and how you handle those situations. And that's a perfect example of the psychology of that. So that's a great example. Do you have any other examples maybe of clients that are doing this well? I know that this one client was deleting their reviews. Do you have any clients that you've been, yeah, don't do that, by the way. Do you have any clients that you've been coaching that have like fully embraced this and are just like their review game is strong and they have all these comments and interactions and conversations with people that have really helped shape their business in new ways?
Yeah, I have a couple of examples. One is an HVAC company out in the Northwest, and they are creating really great reviews of different products and services. They're creating a lot of great content. They're writing articles. They're actually making videos as well, right? Because they're walking you through the products directly with their sales team and their service deliveries teams, showing you the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? Then they couple that with specific landing pages for each of those products and services as well. So we're
Nice.
not just taking the reviews into an article, we're truly making it into an evaluation of the brand as a whole. And they are making sure that they do this for each of their suppliers. So this
Wow.
is just not one or two. This is for everybody. All of their vendors are getting the same equal treatment because that is the unbiased approach that we need our clients to have, is that you don't just find it for one or the other. You're giving the same experience to every single person. So I really love their approach to the reviews of the brands specific because we're seeing an increase of educated buyers, right, who want to know and learn about specific brands, whether their friend has had one, right, because they're reading reviews online, right? Their friends had one, their neighbors had one, they've heard about the brand before, they've, you know, seen their ads on television. Now we have a company who's taking that head on and just flat out writing reviews about it.
So
So
cool.
that's a really great example. And I would encourage, anyone that works with products and services, especially if you have like lead aggregators, or if you're actually getting direct leads from those brands, instead of sending on those brand pages, right? So if we're talking about HVAC, let's say Train, right? If you are one of the trusted suppliers or a local supplier of Train products, instead of on the Train website, just linking back to your homepage, link back to the specific product page or that specific brand page
Yes.
on your website, right?
Yes.
Then you're giving that experience of, I went from the Train website over to your website and it was all about Train. And it gave me the good, the bad, and the ugly, told me who was a right fit, told me who was a wrong fit. And I was able to continue that experience and not feel like there was a disconnect, or not have to go and search and find for the specific brand names that I was looking for.
Right. That makes total sense. Very cool.
Right. Yeah. Now, the other piece too, when we talk about reviews, is I have a client who has a fantastic number of reviews. And I don't want you to hear me say, oh, I love this client because they have a 4.9 Google star rating on their Google My Business page.
Sure.
What they do have is thousands of reviews. They don't ask only the clients who have great experiences. They ask every client to give them a review.
Yeah.
They don't shy away from folks telling the public the type of experience that they've had. They do this through automations, right? So after a service request is finished, they have automated emails that go out so that you can directly give a Google review.
Genius.
And they're not incentivizing. I want you all to hear this, is you don't want to incentivize folks for giving reviews. You never want somebody to just say, oh, well, they gave me $100 to give them a review. Because even though we want to feel like that's unbiased, it truly isn't.
No, it's
Because
not.
there's,
As soon as you said that, it made me cringe a little bit. It was like, ooh, no, that's not. If you leave a
yeah,
review, you get entered to a raffle and you can win a free iPad or something. Like that's not how it works, or it shouldn't be anyways. Yeah, I totally agree.
that's not right. So making sure that you don't have any, incentives for giving reviews, but
Right.
they automate it, right? So there's these emails that go directly out. They even do follow-up calls because they
Wow.
truly believe in the review and feedback process. They're doing follow-up calls. And yes, of course, there's moments for referrals, there's moments for other things, but they genuinely want the feedback about their team, about the process, because they are in the business of making themselves better. They have a growth mindset. They don't believe that they've hit the pinnacle just because they're having an absolutely fantastic year. They still know that there are things that they could be doing differently. So they pick up the phone, they're calling, they're asking for those Google reviews again, and they reinforce that we're not looking for you to give the everything was great and super wonderful if it wasn't.
Yeah.
Of course, we want you to write if you had a fantastic experience, but we don't want you to shy away from everything that you learned in that process. And I love this approach because what they've been hearing are they're learning more content that they should be creating. So it's not even like process adjustments. They're even digging in deeper to find out what other type of content should we be creating, whether it's a written article or whether it's a video, what questions are coming about, and then how can they continue to nurture people even after they've worked with them, because they're starting to build these relationships and build trust. Now they know, okay, it would be really great? We just did this beautiful install on this brand new HVAC unit. Do they know about regular maintenance? Do they know about what happens in springtime when pollen comes through and how often they should be changing their filters? Because that can impact the
like the lifetime,
quality,
or the quality
the
of
light, the quality of the work that the HVAC unit is putting out, the longevity of it, right? The
yeah,
lifetime value of it.
totally.
And so this is where they don't just use this as an opportunity of a transactional, right? We sold you, you're done, see you later. They want to find out and continue to build that relationship and continue to build trust with the customers that they're working with, right? Because even if you're an HVAC company, right, you're still doing repairs. You're not just doing replacements. You're doing repairs as well. You're doing duct cleanings. There are other services that your customers are going to need throughout the lifetime of them living in that home, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so what better way than to get the open, honest reviews and learn what we can continue to do with customers?
I love all that. I everything that you said, it's just like hitting the nail on the head. It's so true. And I think it's such a great way to meet customers where they are. I also think too, the psychology of it, I look at how many reviews. It's not just the number. What is it, a 4.2?
Yeah.
Is it a 4? If it's a 4.2 and it has 20 reviews and someone else has a 4.1 but they have 20,000 reviews, you best believe I'm looking at the one with 20,000 reviews first, just because there's something to those numbers. It just shows you that they have a huge customer base and they have a lot of people interacting with the brand. So they're clearly doing something right. At least that's how I look at it anyways. But so my next question, how you had mentioned Google reviews and Yelp and Amazon and all these different places where you can leave reviews and where customers get a chance to really interact in that way. How does AI play into that mix? And what should companies be thinking about as, we keep diving further into this AI realm and how it's starting to take over pretty much everything?
Yeah. So what we're seeing an increase of is not just answering the questions, but problems in reviews are two that we're starting to see AI really pick up on because it wants the user generated content. Okay. So what that means is these AI tools, right? The chat GPTs, the clouds of the world, they're not just searching the websites. They are now looking at Google reviews. They're looking at Yelp reviews. They are pulling into aggregate the customer experiences that people are having. And you'll see that. You'll see it where it says customers say this, right? On the Amazon, if you've recently purchased anything from Amazon, right, they now have that AI summary that takes all of the reviews and pulls a quick summary for you of the reviews that are happening. We're going to start to see this increase across all different platforms. I see Yelp, Angie's List, Google My Business, Google, like all of that is going to start pulling a collection of reviews to try to give you an overview, right? Without you having to read all of those reviews, it's trying to give you a summary. So if you're not writing reviews on your website, first and foremost, you need to be.
What are you doing? If you're not writing reviews, what are you doing?
If you're not doing it, right? I joke around that we've got to write all of our content. We've got to build sales and marketing strategies for two people, humans and the robots.
Okay.
And it seems really silly. And if you've heard me say this, you need to hear it again because it truly is the way that the world is adapting and the way that our user experiences are being shaped, right? Because one, you're going to start to get the AI summaries, and that's the first place that people are going. It's at the top of our Chrome. It's at the top of really any of our AI features and AI tools, even in HubSpot, right?
Yeah.
All of this stuff is being pulled to the top because it's trying to make an easier and simpler process for you so that you're not having to do all of the research all on your own, right? So if we're not writing for the robots and knowing that robots are crawling and looking for this, I know I'm simplifying it, y'all. I'm bringing just a simple way for those of you who aren't really into AI, you really have to see and view that the way that we are shaping how people search for things is we're looking for quick, fast, and simple. And that's where the AI overviews come into play, guys. It is going to start searching and looking. So if you don't have a lot of Google reviews, whether they're good, bad, or ugly, you've got to start doing that.
Yeah.
Right? Now on the human side, if you're not writing reviews to help people decide on your website one way or the other, you're also doing yourself a disservice. And I know Marcus actually wrote, it was his best of article, but it pulled up in the reviews of Play More Pools. Then he linked to the review of Play More Pools, and people actually got to see who's a good fit, who is a bad fit, and what is an honest, open experience that they could expect with a different pool vendor,
different
pool
manufacturer
servicer.
service. Yeah.
Yeah. Manufacturer, service, all of that. Right.
Wow.
So the biggest thing with AI is we just have to remember that we are still feeding the machines. We have to be the leaders in the content creation. We have to be the ones making sure that our reviews are being posted, our content is being posted. I mean, guys, I see a world where, AI is pulling in Facebook reviews, right? It's pulling in all of these different reviews, all these different stars from all these different places, because it wants to give the user one experience in one place. So we have to make sure that we are the one voice that is helping shape that through content, through through user generated content and reviews, and also making sure that we are encouraging folks to talk about it in all the different places.
Such a great point that you make about AI. And it's, I know it seems simple, but I think people forget. And even you just reminded me, I forget too, because I'm in GPT and I'm using all these tools every single day, almost for hours on end at times. But we forget that we're feeding the AI so that it can learn. And then in return, the AI is feeding us back what we're teaching it. And it's becoming this revolving circle. So that at the basis of it all, like that's why this is so important. And that's why you can't not do reviews. You have to do them. I'm going to use a double negative. You can't not do reviews. You got to do it.
You can't not do them. And you need to do them. The biggest thing I want everyone to hear is you've got to do them in all the different places. All right. So you should be creating your video content, short form, long form, all of it. You need to be creating all different types of reviews about products and services, competitors, and even yourself. If you don't have an honest review about yourself, you need to be doing that first and foremost, because you can pull all of that data into one place, right? The purpose of creating best of articles was, one, we wanted to rank for it, right? And the second part is we wanted to make sure that people had one place that they could go, that we were saving them hours of research by just going to one website to learn all of the different best ofs, right? It can be the same way with your reviews. Why not create content that pulls all of your reviews together, or all of the reviews from your competitors, so that your customers and consumers only have one place that they have to look? They don't have to go all over. You're saving them the time and energy, and you're doing it on your website so that you're building trust with them. Use these in the sales process. If people are like, hey, I know even here at Impact, we've had people say like, oh, can you give us like a referral? Can you give us somebody that we can go and talk to? Why not, instead of just creating the claims we make videos or the customer journey videos, why not pull into one place all of the reviews that we have, the good, the bad, and the ugly, how we've addressed them, and how we really pull them into better business practices.
I love that. I love that. People want information quickly, and it's getting faster, and attention spans are getting shorter. So you gotta give them what they want as quickly and as condensed as possible. And to your point, where you're just saying like that does exactly that. I think that's such a great look. Well, I learned a ton. I hope everyone out there watching and listening is getting into reviews and taking this a little bit more seriously, because it's a really big component of being successful with endless customers. But now it's time for my favorite part of the show. What's the one thing, Allison, that you would tell everyone listening and watching right now? Like one thing, one sentence that they have to take away from today's conversation that's most critical, mission critical for them.
Don't shy away from any and all reviews that you can get and give around your products and services and around your industry.
Allison, great conversation today. Thank you so much for all your insights and for sharing some customer stories. I learned a lot, and you definitely got me rethinking AI and reviews in general. I really got some work to do.
Yep. But hey, and if people aren't reviewing this podcast, they definitely should. 5 stars all around, Alex, because that's the experience that I've had.
Well, thank you so much. And for everybody out there listening and watching, go give us some reviews. We always ask for reviews, and we'd love to hear what people want us to talk about on the show. So if there's any pressing topics or questions or issues you're having, don't be afraid to hit us up. We'd love to talk about it. We're not the ostriches over here. We don't stick our heads in the sand. All right. With that, Allison, thank you again for your time and for being on the show. We'll definitely have to have you back again soon.
Of course, Alex. I'm always ready for you.
All right. And for everybody out there watching and listening, this is Endless Customers. We'll see you on the next episode.